My mom begged me to come home for Thanksgiving. I live in Seattle now, 3 time zones away from the small Arizona town I grew up in. I hadn't been back in almost 2 years, mostly because every visit somehow turned into me solving everyone's problems. But this time she sounded different, softer, almost fragile. "Please, Emma," she said over the phone, her voice breaking just enough to trigger that old reflex in me. "The kids miss you. Your sister's overwhelmed. We just need the family together again." Against my better judgment, I booked the ticket. I paid extra for a direct flight because I was exhausted from work and honestly wanted this to be easy. I imagined a normal holiday, a hug at the door, maybe my mom's cooking. Maybe I'd finally feel like a daughter instead of a backup plan. I landed at 11:30 p.m., rented a car, and drove straight to my parents' house. The porch light was on. My suitcase was heavy. My body was heavier. I rang the bell. The door opened and my mom didn't even look at my face. "You're finally here," she said, glancing past me to the driveway. "Good. You can take over with the kids tomorrow morning. We leave early." I blinked. "Leave where?" That's when my sister Rachel appeared behind her, already dressed like she was headed to the airport. Designer sneakers, oversized sunglasses on her head, phone in hand. Her husband followed, rolling 2 massive suitcases. Rachel grinned. "Surprise! Mom didn't tell you? We booked a cruise. 5 days. Adults only." "You're amazing for doing this, by the way." "Doing what?" "You'll be watching the kids," my mom said, like she was reminding me to take out the trash. "It's only for days. You work from home anyway." Her kids, 3 of them, came running into the hallway screaming my name, sticky hands already grabbing at my coat. Everyone was smiling. Everyone except me. I stood there, jet-lagged, holding my suitcase, realizing I hadn't been invited home for Thanksgiving. I'd been summoned. Rachel laughed. "Relax, Emma. It's family. Besides, you don't have kids. This will be good practice." Something cold settled in my chest. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I just smiled and said, "Okay, but before you leave, we need to talk." The room shifted. My mom's smile faltered. Rachel stopped laughing. Her husband suddenly found the floor very interesting. That sentence, the calm one, changed everything. Because what they didn't know was that this trip wasn't the first time they'd done this. And it wasn't even the worst. They also didn't know that while my mom was busy planning a vacation with my sister, I had spent the last year quietly tracking every small favor, every temporary loan, every bill they'd slid my way with a smile and a guilt trip. And this time, I didn't come home to help. I came home to end it. That night, I barely slept. I lay on the old pull-out couch in the den, staring at the same water stain on the ceiling I'd stared at as a teenager. Except now it felt like it was pressing down on my chest. Every few minutes, one of the kids cried out from the guest room, and I could already hear Rachel laughing loudly in the kitchen, packing snacks for a trip I apparently wasn't invited to. Around a.m., the house exploded into chaos. Suitcases rolling, coffee brewing, my mom knocking on the den door like I was late for work. "Emma, wake up. We're leaving in an hour." I sat up slowly. "Before you go," I said, keeping my voice even, "we need to talk." Rachel sighed dramatically. "God, why does everything have to be so serious with you?" "This won't take long," I said, "but it matters." Rachel rolled her eyes. "If this is about money, it is," I replied calmly. I opened a spreadsheet. Clean. Organized. Dates going back almost 4 years. 4 years ago, I began. Mom called me crying because the credit card was maxed out. I sent $1,000. "You said it was just until tax season." Last year alone, I sent this household $18,400. That doesn't include the phone plan in my name, the streaming services, or the groceries I've been ordering online for this house every other week. My dad straightened. "You didn't have to do that." "No," I agreed, "but you let me." Every time. I scrolled to the total. The number sat there quietly, undeniable. $52,760. The kitchen went silent. Rachel whispered, "That's not right." "It is," I said, "and that's why I said we need to talk before you leave." My mom's voice trembled. "Emma, we never meant for you to feel used." I looked at her. "Then why didn't you ask? Why did you just assume I'd drop my life, fly across the country, and become free childcare while you went on vacation?" Rachel snapped, "It's not a vacation. It's a cruise. I smiled thinly. Exactly. I reached into my bag and slid a single printed page onto the table. What's that? My dad asked. A boundary, I said. Effective immediately. I'm no longer covering household expenses. I'm also removing myself from the joint account you opened in my name for emergencies. My mom gasped. You can't do that right now. I already did, I replied, opening my email and turning the screen toward them. Confirmation after confirmation. Account changes. Cancellations. Rachel stood up. Are you seriously doing this today? Before we leave? Yes, I said, because today is the day I found out why I was really invited home. Her husband muttered, This is unbelievable. I nodded. It really is. Then I added, calmly, and one more thing, since I'm apparently essential for childcare, you should know there will be no babysitting. My mom's eyes widened. What do you mean? I said, closing the laptop. You're not going on that cruise. Rachel laughed. You don't get to decide that. I met her eyes. Actually, I do. And that's when I told them exactly why. Rachel stared at me like I'd slapped her. You're bluffing, she said. You always do this dramatic pause thing and then cave. I didn't answer. I just unlocked my phone and set it on the counter. My mom's eyes followed it nervously. Emma, please? Not today. I opened my banking app and turned the screen toward them. A long list of scheduled payments filled the display: mortgage assistance, utilities, internet, phone plans, streaming services, daycare reimbursements. Every single one had my name next to it. I've been paying parts of this house for years, I said quietly. Not visiting, paying. My dad frowned. We never asked you to. You never had to. I cut in, still calm. You just waited until something broke or bounced and then called me crying. I tapped one button. Autopay canceled. My mom sucked in a sharp breath. Emma, stop. I tapped another, then another. Each confirmation felt like a weight lifting off my chest. Rachel rushed forward. You can't just turn everything off. The internet is not my responsibility. I finished. Her husband finally spoke. So what? You fly and drop a bomb and leave us scrambling. I looked at him. You mean like you plan to do with me? Babysitting 3 kids with no warning while you sip cocktails? Silence. Then my mom's voice cracked. We just thought, you don't have kids. You have more flexibility. That sentence did it. I laughed once. Short and bitter. So my life doesn't count because I didn't reproduce? That's not what I meant. It's exactly what you meant, I said. You see me as extra. Extra money. Extra help. Extra time. My dad rubbed his temples. What now? Rachel snapped. This, I said, laying it flat, is a notice that I'm no longer financially connected to this household. No joint accounts. No shared cards. No emergency access. My mom's hands shook as she read it. You're cutting us off. No, I corrected. I'm cutting myself free. Rachel's eyes filled with tears, but her voice was sharp. You're ruining our family. I met her gaze. No, I'm refusing to be the glue holding together something broken. From the hallway, one of the kids shouted, Mom, where's my tablet? Rachel snapped back. Not now. I picked up my coat. My dad blocked the doorway. If you walk out, don't expect us to forgive you. I looked at him steadily. You already decided I was disposable. I'm just agreeing. He stepped aside. As I walked out, my mom followed me to the porch. Emma, she whispered, please, at least stay for dinner. I paused, hand on the railing. I didn't come here to be fed after being drained. Her shoulders sagged. I got into my rental car, hands shaking as I started the engine. My phone buzzed immediately. Email. Confirmations stacking up. Cancellations. Account changes. Clean breaks. As I pulled away, I saw Rachel through the window, yelling into her phone, probably trying to salvage the cruise. But it was already gone. And for the first time in years, so was my guilt. Didn't go back to my parents' house after that. I checked into a small roadside hotel near the airport. The kind with thin curtains and a buzzing ice machine outside the door. It wasn't comfortable, but it was quiet, and quiet felt like oxygen after years of emotional noise. The first night, I barely slept. Every time my phone lit up, my stomach twisted. Missed calls from my mom, then my dad, then Rachel again. I turned the phone face down and forced myself not to react. For once, their panic didn't need an immediate response. By the next morning, the consequences started rolling in. My mom texted first. Mom, We got a letter from the bank. They're asking for updated financial info. Why would they do that now? I stared at the screen, heart pounding, then typed back only 2 words. Me. Because reality. That opened the floodgates. Rachel sent a string of angry messages accusing me of blindsiding everyone and doing this on purpose right before the holidays. My dad followed with a voicemail, so sharp it made my hands shake. He said I was ungrateful, that I was trying to punish them, that family doesn't do this to each other. But the thing that hurt the most didn't come privately. It came online. A friend from college messaged me a screenshot with, "Is this about you?" It was my dad's Facebook post, a long one, about children who forget their roots, about sacrifices parents make that are never repaid, about being abandoned by someone who chose money over family. The comments were full of sympathy, people telling him how awful that must feel, how kids these days have no loyalty. I felt sick. Old me would have panicked, would have called him, would have begged him to take it down. Instead, I saved the post. Screenshots went into the same folder as my bank statements and receipts. Not to shame him, but to protect myself. She looked nothing like the confident woman who'd laughed at me in the kitchen. Her eyes were red, her shoulders slumped. "You really messed things up," she said, sitting heavily in the chair. I didn't argue. Things were already messed up. She ran a hand through her hair. "Dad's furious. Mom's crying non-stop. They don't know how they're going to cover everything." I met her eyes. And why was that my responsibility? She didn't answer. After a long silence, she said quietly, "We just always assumed you'd help. You always did." That was the truth. And it hurt more than all the yelling. "I helped because I loved you," I said. "But love doesn't mean self-destruction." She nodded slowly, like the words were sinking in for the first time. When she left, I sat alone on the edge of the bed, listening to planes take off in the distance. I felt guilty. I felt sad. But beneath all of that was something unfamiliar and steady. For the first time, the chaos wasn't mine to manage. And no matter how much they hated me for it, I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going back to being their safety net. I went back to my apartment with a suitcase that felt lighter than when I'd left. Even though it held the same clothes, something invisible had been unpacked along the way. For the first time, my life felt like it belonged entirely to me. The weeks after Thanksgiving were uncomfortable in a quiet, lingering way. Not dramatic, just heavy. My parents stopped calling. Rachel only texted when absolutely necessary. The silence wasn't peaceful at first, it felt like punishment. Years of conditioning told me I'd done something unforgivable. Then the truth started to leak out. A cousin mentioned casually that my parents had downsized their internet plan. Another relative said my mom was selling old furniture online. Nothing catastrophic, just adjustments. Real ones. The kind adults make when the safety net disappears. "I get it now," she said. "I really do. I used to think you were just better at handling things. Money, stress, all of it. I didn't realize I was handing you responsibilities that weren't yours." I didn't rush to comfort her. I let the silence sit. "We're cutting back," she continued. "No more pretending we can afford things we can't. It sucks, but it's real." That was the first time anyone in my family had said something like that out loud. December rolled in quietly. No dramatic reconciliation. No family group chat full of holiday plans. Just distance and space to breathe. A few days before Christmas, my mom emailed me. Not a text. An email. Long. Thoughtful. No guilt. No pressure. She admitted they'd relied on me for far too long, that she'd been afraid of facing my dad about money, afraid of change, afraid of losing control. She didn't ask for help. She didn't ask me to come home. I cried when I read it, not because it fixed everything, but because it was honest. On Christmas morning, I sat alone in my living room with a cheap tree in the corner and a mug of coffee in my hands. Outside, the city was quiet. Inside, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Safe. No one needed me to solve anything. No one was waiting for a transfer or a sacrifice. I was allowed to exist without being useful. Later that afternoon, my phone buzzed. A message from Rachel. A photo of the kids opening presents on the floor. Smaller pile than usual. Messier. Real smiles. "Rachel. They're happy. That's what matters. Rachel. And thank you. Even if it doesn't feel like it yet." I replied with a heart and nothing else. My dad never reached out. He never apologized. But he stopped posting. The story he'd been telling online slowly faded when there was no drama left to feed it. And that was okay. Here's the thing I wish I'd learned sooner. Love that only exists when you're sacrificing yourself isn't love, it's dependency. Boundaries don't destroy families. They reveal who respects you when you finally stop overextending. I didn't ruin a holiday. I ended a cycle. And in doing so, I finally gave myself the one thing my family never could: permission to put myself first.